Hello, I'm Dylan.
And I'm Keon.
And this is Trust Your Doctor, that podcast introducing John Hurt. Because this week we watched The Name of the Doctor.
Written by Steven Moffat.
Directed by Saul Metzstein.
And aired on May 18th, 2013.
Yes, John Hurt's first television and movie role. We're introducing him here. Live. Not live. On the podcast for the first time.
And the last time. For the last time.
Yeah. You can only be introduced once, and we've done it now. Officially. John Hurt has been introduced to the world.
As the Doctor.
Yeah.
We'll get to that scene. Yeah, I have some things to say about that on-screen text.
I hope it's about how out of place it was.
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of is. But first we have to get through the rest of this.
Nonsense.
I liked this episode. It was pretty good. It wasn't the best of this season, but it wasn't the worst. It was pretty good.
So pretty mediocre is what you're saying.
No, it was pretty good.
It's pretty mediocre. There's some good concepts here, muddled around in a lot of padding. In a lot of padding.
No, I didn't feel that way. This was kind of like Tooth and Claw, where it's like, I bet there's about 30 minutes left, and you check the timestamp, and there's only like 5.
Yeah. That's how long this episode is going to be. 5 minutes, because that's about how much actually happened in this episode.
Well, first we should talk about the production. So obviously Steven Moffat had this idea brewing since apparently 2012, but...
allegedly.
Yeah, probably before that. I mean,
Steven... Well, probably often, too.
I mean, it's been proven that Steven Moffat has used his ideas from when he was a child in the in the show. Stuff like Sally Sparrow and like his Usenet posts and all that stuff.
Yeah, there's also the possibility that he made it up like 2 weeks before writing this episode. It was like, I totally had this plan from the beginning, guys. Well, just trust me.
Well, apparently his...
I knew all along the resolution to the Clara arc. Trust me on this.
In a way, definitely Steven Moffat's stories, but in a way, like, all of modern Doctor Who feels like that's sort of behind it.
Just like, trust me.
Trust us, we had this all planned out from day one.
I mean, in my opinion, this is the one that's most like, just trust me, I had this planned from the beginning.
This doesn't really feel like, this is what you're saying, it doesn't feel like an ass pull to me, honestly.
Not so much an ass pull as like didn't pay off as big as I thought it would the first time I watched it, which we'll talk about later. But yeah.
Sure. Well, yeah, I think my fan theory about Clara is actually better than what we got, but hey.
Yeah, because it is.
But anyway, Steven Moffat actually didn't have most of the script complete, or he had most of the script completed, but he didn't have all of it completed by the time it got to filming.
That's another thing that makes me think Moffat was just like, trust me, I had this plan from the beginning.
Because there were some weird things cause the show is done in production blocks, like most shows, I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
And there was some confusion as to whether this would be part of season 7, part 2, almost a 7B production.
Well, some people refer to it as 7B, 7A and 7B.
Yeah. Or the next one, and it was done sort of partially as part of 7B, I guess, and then partially along with the
2 specials that follow this, which are Day of the Doctor and Time of the Doctor. And that mini episode, Night of the Doctor, which we'll be watching for next week.
Unless we forget.
I'm not going to forget.
I forgot.
And I'm going to be texting you the link to the episode every day to make sure you don't forget. Except somehow you'll probably still forget. Place your bets now, dear listener. Apparently Moffat wanted a completely new villain because he's like, I've used the Daleks this season. I've used the Cybermen. Let's go for something new. And he created the Whispermen.
He created the Great Intelligence now.
he brought back the Great Intelligence, but he also created the Whispermen, who are way...
Kind of like the Silence.
Kind of. Like the but Silence. They're also like a... They have a lot of potential.
They're like the Crooked Man / the Silence.
It's wasted in this episode.
I guess there's some pretty good jump scares with them, and that's kind of it.
They seem to have potential that, again, is wasted in this episode.
Yeah,
and it's just wasted on the show in general because, spoiler alert, we never see him again. So
yeah, I don't know how they would pull this off, and this might make it even more of a cluster bomb than it already is. But like, They somehow could have brought back the Silence and had them be here instead.
Well, we haven't... spoilers, we haven't seen the last of the Silence yet.
But no, they go for the Whispermen. And the plan was here, leading up to the 50th anniversary is like, all right, let's get all the doctors back for the 50th anniversary, which isn't possible because William Hartnell is dead.
Well, and Patrick Troughton and John
Pertwee are all dead. And Steven Moffat did not want, and I think this was specifically Steven Moffat and not just like a general consensus among the team. But I think he was like, I don't want, other actors to play these doctors.
He went back on that 3-4 years later.
And then, Christopher Eccleston contacted Steven Moffat and said that he declined. He basically declined being in the 50th anniversary. I don't think he gave a reason until like a year or two ago.
Yeah, and apparently it was like a really... I mean, this is something to talk about next week when we actually get to the 50th special, but apparently it was a very late denial, and I think Moffat came out in 2014 or 15 and said, like, we were pretty close to getting Chris on board, and like I had a version of the script that had the Ninth Doctor in it, like until pretty late in the production cycle. So
yeah, so they had to do away with the Ninth Doctor, which also means they had to do away with the Ninth Doctor being the one who caused the Time War, because that's what the original plan was, which is why
that was Russell T's plan anyway.
Yeah,
and Moffat's continuation of the plan,
right. But the solution to this was to get John Hurt to play the War Doctor.
Yeah, and I have things to say about that I'm going to save for next week, about how I think it should have actually been the Eighth Doctor that did that, but anyway.
Well, they considered the Eighth Doctor.
Yeah,
but then they were like, nah, it doesn't really fit the Eighth Doctor's character.
But that's what I think would have made it so good, but we'll talk about that again next week when we actually like work through the plot of the 50th special. But so the idea then was to introduce John Hurt's version of the Doctor in this episode, so he doesn't just pop out of nowhere in the 50th anniversary special. Although, to be fair, if you're like a casual fan or someone who hasn't watched this season, but they're like the big 50th anniversary specials coming up, you might not necessarily have watched this episode before the 50th. So, and
that's just too bad for you. If you haven't watched every single episode of Doctor Who up until now, then what they should just make the story so convoluted and complicated and hard to parse that like if you haven't watched literally everything from day one until now, you won't get it.
Yeah. More reasons not to make us showrunners.
But yeah, that's sort of the making of this. A lot of this was just lead up to the 50th.
Yeah, and I think it suffers in that aspect in some ways. Like I think the story itself suffers because it was designed to set up the 50th. They got some stunt doubles to play.
I mean, it's really just at the end.
They got some stunt doubles to play the Sixth Doctor and the Ninth Doctor in scenes where they kind of walk past the camera.
Yeah.
Classic Colin Baker being played by someone else in a wig again.
I finally realized why you said to remember the scene from Dragonfire. I thought it was going to be like something huge. Like, I remember back then I was like, yes, the Sabalon Glitz come back. And no, he's not even on screen.
I got you. Tricked you.
Yeah, that's what this episode kind of did, where I was like, is Clara, like, reincarnating out of chronological order? And this episode just, like, hits you with a bus and like, ha-ha, sucker. I mean, it's not like everyone was thinking that, but whatever.
Well, so the episode begins with this weird, out-of-place scene that, like, seems really confusing till you've watched the episode and you're like, oh, that's what's going on.
Yeah, she's what is this? I forgot.
It starts with the scene that happens right after she jumps into the Doctor's time. She was I'm Clara, and I was born to save the Doctor. And you're like, what's going on?
I wish this wasn't here because, like, halfway through this episode, or like the second they introduce the vortex or whatever, it's not the time vortex, but like that portal.
Yeah.
Before they even explain it, you kind of piece together like, oh, it's the Doctor's memories or whatever, and Clara's going to jump in and save the day throughout all of time.
Yeah.
And they repeat the exact same scene pretty much later on. So I kind of
Yeah,
wish,
this is
wish
again one of those things I'm like,
wasn't there.
padding. I mean, I feel like textbook padding is repeating the same scene twice with absolutely no changes at all in the episode.
Well, no, I mean, like, you can do, like, a cold open type thing where it's like you see something and you don't know what's going on, and then a later scene sheds light on that, but this was...
Yeah, but see, that sheds light on it.
Yeah.
This is like the same scene
Yeah.
verbatim with...
Yeah, verbatim. And it's like, I don't know, I mean, there's no, like... Other than...
There's no rules about this, I guess.
Yeah,
so.
no, there's no rules about, like, how long a Doctor Who episode needs to be.
Okay, I mean,
'Cause
look,
it's-
in the context of Doctor Who, no. But in the context of the BBC going, you need to fill this 45-minute time slot, yeah, there is actually rules.
I guess, but, like, some of them are, like, 41 minutes, and some of them are, like, 49, and...
Well,
yeah,
the
they just, like,
49, the
adjust around that.
49-minute ones are typically the ones that are designed to fill an hour-long time slot. Like, they have different time slot lengths, but, like, they all hover pretty close to 42 minutes, generally. See, Series
Yeah,
11,
like
which is the most
44.
recent one, they switched to 50-minute episodes, so they all hover 50 to 52 minutes.
Yeah, okay.
This one was like 42.
It was 44.
Sorry, you're right, 44.
They're all, like, all the ones this season were 44. Just keeping it consistent.
45-minute time slot. I mean, it's true.
But whatever, you know, they could have done away with this. So, you know, yeah, one other sort of production thing, not really production, but apparently they shipped out the DVDs for this too early.
Oh, yeah.
And people got this episode, like, before it aired. Apparently there were no
There were
leaks.
210, I think. The BBC asked them very nicely not to spoil the episode, and apparently nobody leaked it. And in exchange, the BBC sent them an exclusive interview with the cast members of this episode.
Wow. Really, recompensating them? Recompensating them? Whatever.
Compensating.
Yeah. No. Whatever. Really paying them back, you know.
Compensating.
I would have just held the BBC, like, just
What,
held the
hostage?
episodes at, like, ransom. Like, transfer $10 million to this bank account, or the episode's getting leaked.
The BBC would have been like, do it. Fucking do it, you won't. And then when you do, they'll be like, sue the pants off of you, and you'll be like, shouldn't have let the BBC call my bluff. And then this podcast wouldn't exist because you'd be broke.
Or in jail.
Oh, yeah, or in jail.
Can't stop me.
You can't stop the signal.
Can't sue me if they can't catch me.
BBC is a global conglomerate. They can catch you. They're like the modern day Illuminati. This is the big... The BBC controls the world.
British Blackwater Company.
I'm imagining BBC strike teams busting into TV stations in Africa looking for lost episodes of Doctor Who. Doctor Team 6. So Vastra's in a jail, and there's a guy like going crazy, saying these riddles about the Whisper Men.
Yeah, and this is in London, 1893, and this guy has killed like 6 people, so I thought this was going to be like Jack the Ripper or
Yeah,
something.
me too.
But it's not.
Plot twist, it's not.
It's just some guy who was named, but I forgot his name.
Because he's named once.
Yeah, or a couple times, but he has some key information about the Doctor, and Vastra's like, you don't have any information about the Doctor. But then he says Trenzalore,
Yeah.
which if you remember back to last season,
You're right in the final scene when Dorian Maldivar is like, the Doctor will fall when his name is spoken on the fields of Trenzalore.
yeah, that doesn't happen in this episode.
No.
Again, leading up to next week, possibly, or not.
Or 2 weeks from now.
Totally had this all planned out, guys. So then, Vastra, Jenny, and Strax are all separated. They're all off doing their own thing.
Well, Jenny and Vastra are together. Strax has found like a fight club where he just beats dudes up.
Yeah, he's fighting this guy with like a shovel, and the other guy is wielding some other
Pan, I
thing.
think.
I don't know. Yeah, it looks pretty painful. I don't know how much pain and like bludgeoning the Centauran head can take, but like this other guy is a human.
Yeah. And he's about to take a shovel to the face before Strax is rudely interrupted by a telegram because Vastra is called for a, quote, conference call, unquote.
Yeah, they have like this psychic
Conference call.
Which is done apparently it's done through being knocked out or sleeping or unconscious or whatever.
And apparently allows you to time travel as well. This is one of the cooler elements of this episode that's not really expanded upon.
Yeah, Vastra has a line that says, like, don't you know that all dreams are a form of time travel? And this, this goes back to, like, psychoanalytic, like, theory and Freudian stuff and also, like, the post-structuralist people who, like, expanded upon that, who connect the dots between dreaming, writing, and time travel, weirdly enough.
Are they connecting dots that they're making up, though, or are they connecting things that are actually there?
I mean, that's
time travel and dreams.
Well, I mean, they're not talking about time travel in the traditional sense. They're talking about time travel, like writing as a time travel like vehicle.
If I lucid dream, can I time travel in my dream?
Maybe. And also like stuff like deja vu and all this other stuff and French nonsense. But
I mean, deja vu literally means seen again.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And
or like, yeah.
Well, she pulls it back to the future too, Vastra that is, and sends a letter to Clara specifically on April 10th, 2013.
Yeah, Clara finally gets her Hogwarts acceptance letter.
I'm not entirely sure why it had to be on April 10th, 2013 since time travel, but
yeah, Clara's back with Angie and Artie, I think was his name.
Yeah, I really hope you like these kids because I'm pretty sure we never see them again.
I mean, like we said last week, they were all right.
My question actually about the scene was, why is Clara's mail being delivered to their house?
Yeah, is she like a live-in babysitter?
Yeah, because I thought she was just like, I thought she just came over and babysat them and then like left. But maybe not.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Never really touched upon.
But this letter is like...
Or maybe Angie and Artie are just like raiding her mailbox. You never know. Actually, I don't know if they have mailboxes in Britain. I think they just use the slots. But I'm not sure. I don't know.
I don't know.
I mean, I would imagine they have postal like boxes. But I don't know if they're like personal. I don't know if this time it's personal. But yeah, she opens this letter, which looks like it's from frickin' Hogwarts or something.
And Vastra's like, just light this candle and you'll fall asleep. And then she's like, but you don't have a reason to trust me, so I imbued this letter with the aphrodisiac or whatever it is as well. And she's like, oh, she just passes out.
I think Clara would have done it.
Yeah, me too. But
I think she would have done it.
We'll never know. And they're all waiting for a mysterious another person. And it's River!
Yeah, again introduced pretty unceremoniously, which is all right.
Before we continue, I want to talk about the like really frustrating thing that Strax does in this episode, which is he literally misidentifies the gender of pretty much everyone in this story.
They're doing the joke again.
Again.
And it's like one time per episode is, I guess, fine.
They did it like 3 times in this episode alone, though.
Yeah.
Because he refers to the telegram boy as a girl, and he refers to Jenny as a boy. So
yeah, and I feel like he did it a couple other times, but
refers to River as the one with the big head, and Vastra's like, it's hair, Strax. It's hair.
Maybe Strax is just secretly blind. Maybe all the shovels he's taken to the face have like blinded him. He's just not telling anyone.
Well, so this is River post the library.
Yeah, so it's just like a psychic ghost of her or something. a recording, but it's manifesting itself as like
Well, she
a
was still like
ghost.
conscious inside the library mainframe
Yeah, it's
as a
that.
conscious being. So presumably she's just dreaming as a conscious computer program.
Yeah, which allows her to time travel.
Do androids dream of electric sheep?
Do androids dream of electric peeps?
Oh, not this again. Don't you just talk about how Peeps
Happy
are
Easter,
like
everyone.
scum gloss marshmallows? And how Swedish Fish are the superior candy. So Clara hasn't met River yet, but she meets her now, and then Vastra basically just lays down the law with
The
Clara.
River Song.
Where Vastra's like,
Your TV's River Song.
as seen on TV. Vastra indicates that this guy said, I think, the doctor's greatest secret that he'll take to his grave that has been discovered.
Yeah. Another, I guess, Sherlock Holmes type thing, tying in with Vastra or whatever. Because like we mentioned before, Sherlock Holmes was hugely based on like the writings of Edgar.
Vastra? Oh.
The writings of Vastra in the in-universe, whatever. Like the writings of Edgar Allan Poe. And there's this story by Edgar Allan Poe called The Man of the Crowd. And it starts with this cryptic like thing that's like not part of the rest of the story. And it's about how secrets will be taken to the grave.
I'm
then at
partial
the
to
end-
the Telltale Heart myself.
And at the end, he's like, this is the guy who will take the secret to the grave, the genius of true crime. And you're like, oh, what does that mean?
But like I said, Vastra basically lays down the law on Clara, which is like, you think you're special? There are secrets the doctor hasn't even told you. You think you're special? What's his name? And then River's like really smugly over in the corner like, well, I know his name.
Yeah, because the doctor told her his name in the wedding of River Song.
Except didn't he actually not? Didn't he just whisper in her ear, look into my eyes?
Oh, yeah, I guess he just told her later.
Yeah.
Or earlier.
Cue the diagram.
But then they start getting attacked in real life.
Yeah, well, Jenny's like, I think I've been murdered, Vastra. She's like, what?
And I seriously thought they were killing off Jenny here. And
River's like, you gotta wait.
Strax. I don't know, I would have felt something if they like actually, I don't know.
Just unceremoniously kill them off in this episode.
Yeah, well, it's not even unceremonious. I think it's actually pretty ceremonious to have them die like this.
No, not now. I mean, Jenny just like is like, oh, I'm dead. And then Vastra wakes up like, what'd you do to Jenny?
Yeah, but it's part of this whole thing where they're like trying to help the doctor and trying to find out what's going on.
I mean, it's more ceremonious later when they get Avengers Infinity Ward out of existence.
Yeah, well, you can rewrite consequences as long as you do it well.
Did Moffat do it well?
When I said that however many months ago, I had no idea how relevant it would be.
I did. Which is why I continued to bring it up. So Vastra and Strax, then they get captured by the Whispermen.
Oh, we
As
didn't,
does, Clara then also wakes up and
Yeah.
sees the doctor
we
walking
didn't,
around her house.
Yeah, we didn't mention that the guy from the jail cell provided them with some space-time coordinates for where they need to go.
Trenzalore.
Right.
But then Clara tells the doctor everything she heard in the meeting, and he's like, oh, I guess I gotta go to Trenzalore to save Jenny, Vastra, and Strax.
Yeah, just pedaling back for a second. It's interesting that the space-time coordinates are Gallifreyan writing. We've seen those symbols are Gallifreyan writing, I think, in earlier episodes.
Right.
And it's like, you look at like these real-world writing systems, and a lot of the times numbers are also letters, like Roman numerals or whatever, and Chinese numbers, and Hebrew actually every number is a letter, and there's like weird numerological like things that language does that are just like absolutely insane when you get to thinking about it. Because like every word has a number, and all the numbers are like connected.
Right.
Which is like, how was this even invented? But yeah, it's just interesting that their letters are like space time, like coordinates and places and times, and yeah, I don't know. Weird.
Well, Gallifreyan writing is weird. It's like all circular and it's
It's
circular.
But it's like circles within circles. and next to circles.
It's interesting that it's circular because it implies that there's like no set beginning or ending to any Gallifreyan words or numbers or phrases. I
Yeah,
guess
that's
kind of,
like that movie Arrival.
yeah. That was a good movie. I like that movie.
Yeah, I haven't seen the whole movie.
Ah, bummer, you're missing out.
It's on Netflix now, I believe.
Oh, is it?
So,
Nice, I can go rewatch it.
I
So,
think. I don't know.
yeah, so they're captured, and the doctor's like, I gotta go to Trenzalore, and he's like, it's my grave, and if you're a time traveler, there's one place you should never go, and it's your grave.
Yeah, Angie
But
and
he doesn't
Artie.
really elaborate why.
Yeah, Angie and Artie tricked the doctor into playing blind man's bluff.
And then
that's,
going to the cinema.
Yeah, and that's how Clara sort of gets in touch with him, and then they go into the TARDIS, and he has this conversation about you can never go to your own grave.
Notably, Clara seems unconcerned that Angie and Artie just wandered out of the house.
Yeah. Well, she knows they're at the movie theater.
How does she know they made it there?
Yeah, maybe they're smoking the drugs.
Maybe they're injecting the marijuanas.
Yeah, so if you remember back to, what was it? Time of the Angel? No. Angels Take Manhattan. Amy and Rory saw their own grave, and that
Yeah.
did not end well for them. So that's, I guess, kind of just part of all this. Like, never go to your own grave.
Yeah,
You don't
I
want
guess.
to. You don't want to have what happened to Amy and Rory happen to you. It's been passed down through the generations as a cautionary tale.
I guess.
No, I don't think that's happened.
The TARDIS doesn't want to land on Trenzalore, but the Doctor just turns off the anti-grav, so it goes plummeting to the ground.
Yeah. And Trenzalore looks like sort of a wasteland. It kind of
Like
looks like
Gallifrey.
it looks like, you ever watch those like Discovery Channel things of like, this is what Earth looked like a billion years ago, and it's just like a molten like ball of flames.
Oh, like we saw in Listen. No, Hide.
In
I mean, which one was the one that was
the
this season?
Rings of Akaten.
No. The one with the haunted house.
Oh yeah,
was-
it was Hyde.
Hide. Yeah, like we saw in Hide.
Yeah, and
And like multiple other
the City
episodes
of
in the
Death.
classic series as well.
that was just the City of Death. I
Yeah.
think
One of the most superior Doctor Who episodes of all time.
most superior.
Yes!
I think you mean superiorist.
I don't think that's a word. The superiorist Spider-Man. So the Doctor takes Clara, and they're heading towards the TARDIS, and River's talking with Clara.
Yeah, this is
Via
when
the
she
psychic link.
Yeah, this is when she reveals that she's just a psychic projection of a recording of the upload.
She's still alive in the computer, as I have to reiterate. Remember, the Doctor saved her in the computer.
Yeah, all right, whatever.
We didn't put her on the death count in that episode, so...
Yeah, all right. Well, I'm sure Elon Musk wouldn't have put her on his death count either.
What?
You know, Elon Musk wants to like upload his consciousness to. Well, I mean, he's not the only one, nor is he like the forerunner of like this movement of like, let's upload our consciousnesses to computers. But he's like one of the most
Sign
famous.
me up.
he's-
Day one, I'll be there.
Yeah, that's like he's one of the most famous people who said that. Like, yeah, sign me up. Like, I'd gladly do this.
As long as I have the ability to turn myself off. Elon, if you want to be on the podcast, contact us. The Doctor... They're getting surrounded by Whisper Men, but then River indicates to Clara, who indicates to the Doctor that River Song's grave on this planet is probably a secret entrance to the Doctor's grave, which is the TARDIS, which apparently is really massive now.
Yeah, the Doctor says that massive TARDIS is not like it's his TARDIS, but in the future.
Yeah. Apparently the bigger on the inside starts to leak when the TARDIS dies. So it gets
Sure, that's
bigger.
never going to get mentioned again, unless maybe it's mentioned next week.
So they go inside, and then Clara starts to remember the events of Journey to the Center of the TARDIS, where the Doctor's like, you were there in the Dalek Asylum.
Yeah, there's a throwaway line that explains why she starts to remember this. I don't even remember what it was.
The telepathic circuits are breaking down on the TARDIS, so she's remembering things she shouldn't be able to.
Yeah, there's some also weird fisheye like lens type things here.
Metzdean!
Yeah, I wasn't too partial to it. I mean, I don't know, it's kind of dizzying, disorienting.
A little bit?
Yeah,
A
I
little
think
bit.
so. I think so. I think it was. So they kind of just journey around,
Not for very
and
long, though, because it kind of just. There's this weird kind of cut in the middle where they just all of a sudden show up where Jenny
yeah,
Vastra and Strax are.
yeah. This I thought there was something like missing here.
Me too.
Maybe this was just like maybe they needed to cut something out of
I
this.
don't
I
know,
don't know.
but
I
they
don't know
just
if
like walk in and it's like a hard, really jarring cut. And then they're there.
yeah. And this is also the entrance to the innermost.
Room.
I
I
don't even know
guess.
what this is because it's yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
The door's locked with a code word, which is the doctor's name. And the Great Intelligence wants the doctor to say his name.
Yeah, this is when the Great Intelligence sort of makes its appearance, and you find out that the Whisper Men are like its vessels. So like I
Yeah.
think they kill a Whisper Man, or like they disintegrate one. The Great Intelligence, or yeah,
Because Vastra's like, your physical form should have died, and he's like, it did. And then he like rips his,
oh yeah,
he
yeah,
takes
yeah.
his hat off, and the Whisper Man like vanishes, and then one of the other
He
Whisper
like
Men
rips his
transforms into Dr. Simeon.
yeah. He like rips his face off, but there's like nothing inside, and then he just like rips himself into shreds.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess the Whisper Men are pretty cool. They have like a cool face transition effect.
Yeah, they can like disguise themselves as people. Like the first like real shapeshifters we've had in a long time on Doctor Who.
Yeah. We didn't mention their voices, which is where their name comes from. They kind of sound like the Slytherin like voices, or the Voldemort, whatever those voices
Yeah.
were from the Harry Potter movies,
The
where it's
Death
like,
Eaters.
yeah, they talk like this, and yeah, it's kind of weird. And I wasn't even doing it right.
You were close enough for people, I think, to
Oh
get the
wait,
message.
can't Harry Potter do that himself when he talks to the snakes?
Parcel tongue, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and that's because he was supposed to be in Slytherin, but the
Well, that's because he could speak parcel tongue. I can't believe I know this.
yeah, I can't believe I know as
He
much
could
as I do.
speak parcel tongue because of the
Because Voldemort like
Spoilers.
embedded his spirit
Yeah,
in
because
like Harry. Oh,
because Harry
man.
became an accidental Horcrux, and that gave him the ability to speak parcel tongue. So yeah,
Yeah, I can't believe I even knew that much. I never finished the books or the movies.
wow,
Yep.
missing a cultural icon there.
Yeah, I watched the Fantastic Beasts though, the first one. It
Oh, I actually liked that one. Didn't see the second
alright.
one though.
was all right.
Yeah, well, David Yates is a pretty mediocre director, so there, I said it.
I just like how famous J.K. Rowling or Rowling or whatever is becoming, because she's like in the like past like 1 or 2 years, she's really started like gatekeeping Harry Potter like a lot. Like every time
I'm gonna
someone
mention
mentioned
this again because I mentioned it a couple episodes ago. How she revealed that wizards used to just like take a dump on the floor and then just magic the evidence away. Kind of have to wonder if they just did it in the middle of the hallway or what.
yeah, but like there's all these things of like people posting on Twitter like, what if blankety blank blank, like whatever fan theory about Harry Potter, and then she like responds like, excuse me, that's like not true. Like I'm like, really, JK? Are you there? Like every time a parent reads this book to their child like as a bedtime story, do you just pop out of nowhere and be like, nah?
Actually, there was like a whole meme for like a week that was just like J.K. Rowling tweets, and people would just replace the text with like increasingly weird things about that are obviously false about the Harry Potter universe. But the Doctor doesn't want to speak his name to open the door, and so the Great Intelligence threatens to kill and stop the hearts of Jenny, Vastra, Strax, and Flora. And there's this humorous
which he
scene
does- well,
where Strax is
humorous.
fighting off a Whisper Man, and he's like,
dying.
"I've got him on the run, Doctor. Don't worry, I've got them."
But they're all dying, including Strax.
Strax is dying, but he's like, "Don't worry, I've got the upper hand."
He's like the Black Knight, kind of, from the Monty
Tis but a
Python.
scratch.
Yeah, the Holy Grail. The only Monty Python thing that's like well known and well loved by Americans.
And the Python programming language. which isn't by Monty Python, but is actually named after Monty Python. Fun facts. But then Rivers says the doctor's name, and the door opens, and the doctor's like, I didn't say the name.
River's like, I did.
The doctor doesn't respond because Rivers linked to Clara.
But the doctor does say at the end that he
saw her the whole time.
Yeah, saw her the whole time. We don't know if we heard her the whole time, but I think he also says that he did.
Yeah.
We don't know if he's just making that up. He's like, yeah, I totally saw you the whole time.
I don't think he is.
Yeah, I don't think he is. I mean, there's like, no, not really, but there's a limit to like how skeptical you can be about what people say and like what you see on like a TV show. Like, we don't know if that was totally true. And like really, like there's actually no limit to that, but like there also is at the same time.
Now I'm just confused.
Well, you're about to get even confuser.
What?
Because they go into this room and there's this bright...
Well, it's the console room.
Yeah, but it's not like really the console room.
Well, the actual console is replaced with this kind of blue lightning-looking thing.
Yeah. And the Great Intelligence reveals that this is like a rift to every single moment of the Doctor's life.
Yeah, it's like the Doctor's timeline, apparently. Which is kind of bizarre to put in the Doctor's grave. You kind of have to question how it came to be and, like, why it exists. But these are the kind of questions that don't need to be answered here. I just kind of bought into it, and I was like, all right.
Okay, yeah, I didn't even question it at all until now, I guess.
Seems like a pretty dangerous object to just, like, chuck into a grave, right?
Well, at least they put it behind this door that, like, nobody knows the password to.
Okay, but it's not like the door is made of unobtainium.
How do you know?
Because they didn't say it in the episode.
Why don't you post that on Twitter and see if Steven Moffat, like, starts gatekeeping? Like, no, it wasn't unobtainium.
At Steven Moffat, why didn't the Great Intelligence just get a laser drill from, like, the guys in Journey to the Center of the TARDIS and start drilling through the door?
Why didn't the Great Intelligence just steal a TARDIS and go to every moment of the Doctor's life and just shoot him?
Yeah, I mean, this grave... How did he even get to this grave on Trenzalore? Like, it seems to be, like, way in the future, and you'd think...
Why didn't the Great Intelligence just launch nukes?
Why didn't the Great Intelligence just go to Gallifrey and just kill the Doctor before he even left? That would have resolved everything.
Why didn't the Great Intelligence want to do this in the first place? Why didn't he just, like, have better plans and, like, I don't know, just have a nice day out? You know, spend some time with friends, family, and loved ones?
Why did the Doctor just literally not even put up a fight in this episode at all?
Why was Doctor Who... Let's just get to the heart of the matter and end all this. Why was it even created?
Just end the podcast right there.
But no, the Great Intelligence wants to mess with the Doctor's timeline, so he goes into the rift.
Pretty kind of, you'd think somebody else would have thought of this plan before this, right? You would think, like, the Master would have come up with this at some point.
Well, you get the impression that people don't know about this.
Yeah.
It's in his grave. It's behind this door that pretty much nobody can get into.
Nobody knows where his grave is, although...
Now they do.
The events of Time of the Doctor call into question why nobody knows where his grave is. I'm not going to spoil it, but... Although even in this episode, there was like... The Doctor's like, there was like a massive battle here. Because the graveyard...
Well, it's the Battle of Trenzalore. So.
Yeah, the Doctor's like, this graveyard is a soldier's graveyard. And you're like, okay, well, not every soldier died. And if they did the Doctor just spend like eons burying every single person?
Yeah, you know, that reminds me. One of the reasons why Steven Moffat didn't want to use the Eighth Doctor and then really went for the War Doctor instead of using another incarnation as the one who started the Time War is he's like, I don't really see it in any of the Doctor's characters to commit genocide. And I was like, really?
Yeah, wait
really
a minute.
Made me question how much of the classic show Steven Moffat has actually watched.
Yeah, the Doctor committed genocide on multiple occasions. Like, let's not forget the multiple times he wiped out, like, hundreds of thousands of Cybermen, including in Steven Moffat's run a season ago. During A Good Man Goes to War, and the Doctor just wipes out an entire Cyber Legion.
And they even mention that in this. They mention the freaking Sycorax. They mention a bunch of other...
the Sycorax! That was the biggest twist in this. When Simeon is like, the Doctor's hands are blood-soaked, and they will be for generations to come. think of the Sycorax
Well,
leader.
well, someone's
I'm
like,
what?
No, someone's like, no, they're not. They're anything but blood-soaked. And Simeon's like, no, what about the Sycorax?
And I was like, wow, the Sycorax, that's what you're going for.
Yeah, not
But then he mentions the Daleks and the Cybermen as well, so... I mean, the Daleks just wanted to be little angry robots, and the Doctor had to come along and kill hundreds of millions of them.
The Daleks just wanted to control the entire universe and kill a lot of people, and the Doctor just had to ruin that every single time.
The Cybermen just wanted to upgrade people, and the Doctor had to just ruin that as well. And the Doctor actually literally committed genocide because he wiped the Cybermen off the face of the Earth in the parallel universe. Although it was revealed later he failed at actually doing that, but like that was the goal there.
Well, yeah, here's the thing. He's failed almost every single time he's tried, but like every time he has tried, like as far as he knows,
He's succeeded.
Yeah. So there you go.
But so the Great Intelligence jumps into the Doctor's timeline and starts rewriting it and killing the Doctor everywhere at once.
Yeah, and you kind of get the scene at the beginning with Clara, but then this time it's Simeon.
Just standing awkwardly and ominously in the background of shots.
What if Simeon was in the entire show, like, actually, like, not imposed into the series, but what if he was, like, a background
What if
character
the BBC after this just re-released every classic episode on DVD with Simeon digitally inserted in the background and then just, like, pretended that was how it always was? And it was like, wait a minute, no, it's not. And the BBC's just like, yeah, it was. You can't prove me wrong. We own the master copies. Steven Moffat, you mad lad.
But yeah, the Doctor is dying. He's writhing in pain. This goes back. Doctor Who usually switches up how all of this works when it's convenient. Sometimes all changes to the timeline have already taken place. Sometimes they create new timelines.
Sometimes it's the butterfly effect and it happens very slowly across time. If there's one thing that's consistent about Doctor Who, it's inconsistency.
But Clara's like, I gotta jump in there. I gotta go and save him.
Well, she figures it out because Vastra indicates that the Doctor's dying in the Dalek asylum, and then Clara puts two and two together.
Yeah, and she's like, I've already done this. I have no choice but to jump in.
So she does, and she saves the Doctor, and then the Doctor's like, I gotta save her, and River's like, no, don't. And she's about to slap the Doctor, and he grabs her hand, and she's like, how are you doing that? I'm just a psychic projection. He's like, because I have seen you the whole time, River.
He has some like cool line about why he can see her. It's because like love can touch across dimensions or something dumb like that.
Something like that. I think she's like, this is kind of weird because River is begging the Doctor not to jump into the time stream, but then at the end of their conversation, she's like, oh yeah, by the way, I was psychically linked to Clara, and if Clara's not here right now, then how am I still here? And the Doctor's like, yeah, how are you still here? And she's like, spoilers.
Well, again, it's playing into that thing of like, oh, this has already happened and it was all predestined, which, again, Doctor Who uses that when it wants to and not when it doesn't.
The Doctor jumps into his time stream, and then Matt Smith has a voiceover that he delivers, like, uncharacteristically poorly.
Really? I
don't know if you noticed, but it was like...
I don't even remember what he says.
It just sounded very stilted. Because he's, like, talking to Clara as, like, a disembodied voice. But it doesn't sound like the Doctor speaking to Clara. It sounds like Matt Smith in a studio reading the lines.
Well, that's what it was.
Well, yes, but, like... Yeah. I'm saying that as like
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't even remember what he says in this voiceover.
Just telling Clara that she's still alive and to take this leaf.
Oh, yeah, that's because Clara winds up in, like, a dark area, and she's scared, she doesn't know where she is, and she's like, what's going on? I don't even remember who I am. Yeah, she keeps seeing the Doctor's
faces run by.
Right. And then, like, the leaf that caused her birth, like, flows in. And yeah, this is when the Doctor has that voiceover and he's like, this leaf is you.
And then he shows up and he's like, just come to me. One more step. This also kind of uncharacteristically poorly delivered from Matt Smith here. And she walks over.
And at some point during all of this, Clara, she's seen incarnations 1 through 10 and she goes, you're the 11th Doctor. Is this the first time in the entire show where they've actually said, like, the blankth Doctor?
No. Because when the Doctor introduced himself to Craig, he bonked Craig on the head and gave him the whole timeline. Craig's like, what? And he's like, yeah, I'm the 11th face. to Craig. And the tenth,
Well,
and I'm sure they
does he say
refer
the
to the
11th Doctor?
sure the 10th Doctor is referred to as the 10th Doctor at some point.
I'm sure some fan out there has already like cataloged all of them.
Probably. But
But
then
I don't know.
she sees this guy with his back to them. She's like, "Oh, I haven't seen him yet," and he's like, "Yeah."
And yeah, he's sort of staring out into the like. It looks kind of like Trenzalore, or like
Also, it
it's.
kind of looks like Gallifrey.
Yeah, I think that's probably what it is supposed to be. We do get a shot of Gallifrey at the beginning, and this is like the invasion. It reminds me more of the Invasion of Time than other shots of Gallifrey I think we've seen.
Yeah. The Doctor has this line about how the name you choose is a promise. And then the other Doctor starts speaking. He's like, I did what I had to in the name of peace and sanity. And the Doctor's like, yeah, but not in the name of the Doctor.
Yeah, and then also there's a thing of like the Doctor gave himself that name,
Yeah, Doctor.
which wasn't. Maybe I'm just making this up, but didn't Master the Audio like have something about this? How they weren't named? I don't know. I don't remember. I feel like there was something that was like it was a name bestowed upon you or something like that.
I don't know.
Wouldn't be surprised if there was at some point. But yeah, he didn't commit all these crimes in the name of the Doctor. And we get this the artist formerly known as the Doctor, and he turns around and it's introducing John Hurt as the Doctor.
In on-screen text, and then
Yeah.
it ends with "to be continued."
Right. And this was a little like
Out of
I don't
place.
know. Yeah, it's like I mean, even everyone knows who John Hurt is.
Right.
And if you don't, then I don't like you don't even need it's like I don't know.
I mean, it's supposed to. I don't know. To me, it's like a lazy storytelling shortcut saying, "Oh yeah," to confirming like this is an incarnation of the Doctor.
Yeah, I mean this could have been like a cliffhanger type thing if it wasn't like well that also goes back to the thing of like how much do we trust what we see, but like
I mean, I think
Yeah.
it would have been more effective if he just turned around and said something like, "But my name is still the Doctor," or something like that.
or just said like nothing or I don't
Yeah.
know. Like but there's also this is kind of in the same vein, but it's also like really, really did this is like make sure you tune in next time for John Hurt as the Doctor.
Yeah. It is kind of also a cheap cliffhanger. It's like,
Yeah.
this is John
Plus-
Hurt. We got
plus,
John Hurt, guys.
How many people? Yeah, exactly. It's like, look what we did. We got John Hurt. And it's like, how many people who like Doctor Who don't know John Hurt? Maybe a lot. I don't know.
The American fans. Well, actually, no.
No,
because
he's pretty
like
famous
Alien,
in
yeah.
like all of English speaking TV
yeah.
and movies. Yeah. And I mean, if you don't know him, you know him now.
And this is the secret that was going to be revealed at the Doctor's grave on Trenzalore. It's if there's another incarnation of the Doctor. Surprise.
Yeah, but I mean, I already know that this is the War Doctor, so this is already like a previous incarnation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
But I mean, again,
guess.
there's almost the indication that it could have been the next incarnation of the Doctor if you, like...
Yeah, well, they don't
They don't tell you.
They don't tell you that this is the War Doctor. They don't tell you anything really right now, but I just knew because
Except
of spoilers that I
The
know.
11th Doctor indicates that he knows who this is, so...
So overall, I think this was a pretty good episode. It wrapped up Clara in a way that wasn't actually as cool as my like headcanon fanfic theory thing.
No, yeah, I think the Clara plotline resolves itself in a pretty underwhelming way. It's just like, oh, Clara's special because the Doctor made her special, which I think that alone is like a pretty interesting idea that the Doctor built up this mystery that wasn't actually there, but that aspect of it wasn't really played up in this.
What's like the Bad Wolf
story.
thing? It's like, why is Bad Wolf following them around? It's because they made it follow them around.
Well, that's because like Rose made it. This is like the Doctor's creation, almost going back to like what Russell T wanted Rose to be originally. That the Ninth Doctor like manipulated her into being the perfect companion. This was almost like the Doctor intentionally, through his own hubris, I guess, made a bigger deal of this than it actually was. But they don't play that up, and I think that serves to his detriment.
But, I mean, it's. I remember a couple weeks ago, I was like, maybe the Doctor is just blowing this out of proportion, and it's just a huge coincidence, and like it's kind of closer to that than my other theory. But no, I mean, like I think it's cool. Like that the reason why she's appearing across time is that she jumped into this thing that makes her do that,
Yeah.
or like this.
But like they don't
Yeah,
play up the fact that she jumps into that because it's a bootstrap paradox. The Doctor discovers her echoes,
yeah.
tells
He
her
brought her there
about
because
them.
she was there
Yeah.
already, and she
Yeah.
goes there because the Doctor brought her there.
Yeah. I mean, I think of the three Steven Moffat like big plot resolutions, I guess, I think it's like the that we've had so far. I think it is the least successful.
What were the other two?
Well,
Amy and Rory,
no,
and
no, no, in the first, what did we have in the first season? In his first season,
Amy's wedding.
the Cracks in Time arc with
Oh,
the explosion and the end of the universe and Big Bang 2, and then we had in the second season we had the impossible astronaut and who was River, and River being revealed to be Amy and Rory's
yeah.
daughter.
Uh-huh.
Like I think those.
I think it's better than either of those two.
No, I disagree. I think those two are far more successful than this one was. I also dislike this episode because it kind of plays up the fact that Clara is just Stephen Moffat's self-insert. He's like, I gotta have Clara be everywhere in the Doctor's timeline. She's gotta be everywhere.
Well, why does that mean that she's his self-insert, though?
I don't know. It just feels kind of fan-wanky. Especially
Not to me.
since, like, her telling the first Doctor to choose a different TARDIS directly contradicts something that Stephen Moffat himself introduced a season ago in The Doctor's Wife, when the TARDIS was like, oh, you think you stole me? I stole you. I chose you, not the other way around. And then in this episode, it's indicative that, actually, no, both of them are wrong. It was Clara who told the Doctor to go into the TARDIS.
Maybe there's some like link between the TARDIS and Clara that we don't. I mean, Clara obviously continues on from here.
The
This is
TARDIS
the end
doesn't
of Clara.
like Clara.
Yeah, so maybe there's
though.
some. Yeah, maybe there's something there. Like, so they're psychically connected, and the TARDIS is rejecting her and doesn't like her. And I don't know. I don't think they're actually gonna touch on this in this way, at least. But again, I don't. Yeah, and another reason why we should be the showrunners of Doctor Who is because I would have written Clara better.
Or she's not done yet.
Yeah.
This is one of those moments where the mystery is over, but now what's Stephen Moffat gonna do with her?
Now we get season 2 Rose and season 2 Amy.
And season 3 Rose. Since
Yeah, overall I liked Clara. I like this mystery. It was really exciting. One of the biggest mysteries in Doctor Who, or the most successful one to me in the new show, at least.
I'm
I don't
gonna
know why I was
disagree
so interested. I
because
just wanted to find out what she was.
I think they didn't bring it up enough.
And just her being there is part of it.
Yeah, but like they only mentioned it once or twice, and the
That's
couple times they
fine.
do
They
is
keep
like
shoving
we're
it down
kind
her
of
throat.
ham-fisted. The Doctor going, I will find out who you are, and like her second episode was like awkward. It was just like unnecessary. I don't know.
maybe.
I think the whole thing could have been done better. I think this whole mystery could have been done better than it was, really.
Yeah, I think so too.
And it does kind of also feel almost like another Stephen Moffat does Russell T thing, because it feels very similar to the Donna storyline where they meet the Ood and the Ood are like, the Dr. Donna's really important, and the Doctor's like, I wonder why you're really important. Except that one they didn't play up nearly as much. The Doctor doesn't figure it out till the final episode, and he goes, oh yeah, I guess you're important because the Ood figured it out way before I did. But I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much everything I have to say about this.
Yeah, me too. It is kind of part one of a 3-part conclusion to the 11th Doctor's era, so some more of those plot threads that are left dangling, things like the Silent and what actually is the battle on Trenzalore, will be wrapped up before the end of the 11th Doctor's era.
Probably unsatisfactorily.
As is tradition.
I'm just keeping my expectations low.
As you should.
Expectations can be rewritten as
What?
long as you do it well.
Before we wrap up this season, we do actually surprisingly have some emails to respond to. We have one that I'm going to hold over for 2 weeks because it's predominantly related to the Time of the Doctor, which we won't watch for 2 weeks. But we will respond to the other two, and I'm going to read them. So the first is from Colin Howie. A short note to express my enjoyment of the podcast, which I listen to at work. I transport aerospace personnel to and from airports in Scotland. Currently at the first Dalek Master Plan episode, so I have much amusement ahead of me.
Oh, boy.
I want to check out your Blake 7 podcast, too, as I'm a fan of that show. I've attached a picture of John Pertwee's album. I think you'll appreciate it if you haven't seen it before. Keep up the good work, gents. Best wishes from Scotland, Colin Howie. There's a picture of John Pertwee sings songs for vulgar boatmen.
In his younger days.
You have some of the worst and best episodes ahead of you, Colin. And by the time you reach this email, we'll probably be like another 30 to 40 episodes further.
Well, if he's watched, I don't know how fast he's listening to them, but if he's going in order, he won't get to this one for a while.
Right.
But at least he's listened to Zenith to see how far we've come.
Your Zenith is superior to at least the beginning episodes of Trust Your Doctor.
I would say like any of them.
No, I think there's a couple episodes of Trust Your Doctor I'd say are better than Zenith.
Yeah, like maybe the Redux, like one.
Yeah.
Episodes 1 and 2. I think maybe I would put like up there. But I think Zenith, we really nailed like what we were doing with that show.
Bummer that we ran out of stuff to watch.
Could always revive it with the audios and books. Could always do that.
We're not gonna beat the dead horse. Otherwise, it'll just be like this show. Speaking of beating the dead horse and Zenith, Sergeant Drano emailed us.
Wow. No, Sergeant Drano, I don't endorse that beating the dead horse comment. You can email as much as you want.
The beating the dead horse comment was referring to the content of the email, not to the fact that Sergeant Drano emailed us.
Oh, well.
Subject line, Torchwood, and titles. Hey guys, slowly going through the massive backlog of Trust Your Doctor episodes, and I was wondering, when are you guys going to do Torchwood? The series is consistently pretty excellent, with Series 3 being a real standout in terms of big stakes and some really dark storytelling. Series 3 would also be interesting as it features Capaldi in a major role, the role that actually familiarized me with the actor. He's really good in that season. If you can't find a way to cover the series in more details, I suggest you binge it for triple play. You can do 1, 2, and 3 for the main and the Americanized Series 4 for the .5. It could really benefit from a full podcast, though. Also, way late on this, but your episode titles are confounding. In my effort to more or less catch up, I haven't been listening to every episode of Trust Your Doctor, just my favorites. Problem is, your episode titles make it incredibly difficult to figure out where to find specific Doctor Who episodes if, like me, you're a latecomer trying to go back into your catalog. Imagine it would be too difficult to go back and change all those titles at this point, but I thought it was worth mentioning just in case. Still listening, Sergeant Drano.
Yeah, I just want to address that last thing.
Well, before
we
get there, I want to address the fact that we're going to be doing Torchwood, or at least the plan is when we catch up to the show, which is why I was saying the comment about the beating the dead horse, because this show is going to be running forever, because we plan to do Torchwood and Sarah Jane Adventures when we caught up with the show, so.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, we haven't discussed this at length, but since Trust Your Doctor is probably at some point going to switch to like a seasonal thing.
Yeah, once we've finished, I think...
And like the first season will just be this massive like 300 episode thing.
Well, I think that the idea is once we've caught up with the show and we've watched Torchwood and Sarah Jane and Klaus, and there's no new television episodes being produced, we'll do maybe once monthly episodes on audios or books between seasons and focus on yet to be announced things.
Yeah. That other seasonal podcast we've been kind of discussing behind the scenes. But yeah, just to address that naming thing, that's actually something that I've been thinking about pretty recently as well. And I think a remedy for that would be, I know iTunes does this, and probably other Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, it's Apple Podcasts.
Probably other podcast apps and programs do this too. Of we could put the actual episode title, like the name of the episode we watched, just first before anything in the description, so you can you're scrolling through and you just see that right away. Because it would be, I don't know if we can go back and change those titles. I don't think we can.
Well, we can change the titles. We have over 250 titles to do.
Yeah, no, I don't think we would. I also like the naming convention of just something funny we say in the episode.
Yeah. For the record, when the show started, I was of the opinion that the name should be somewhat related to the name of the episode that we watched. I remember suggesting An Unearthly Adult for episode 1, but we decided against that. Although, on that note, in case you weren't aware, there is episode index on the website. Obviously, that's not in your favorite podcast app, but
No, that's like an extra step type thing.
I mean, it's going to be quicker than clicking through the descriptions of all the episodes, since you can just pull up the episode index and just skip to the doctor you want to find, and then they'll
Yeah,
tell
well,
you.
you know, you could
and you can
always
listen on the website as well.
Yeah. Plus, you could always just memorize the order of every single Doctor Who story. Duh.
Except
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
We split a couple of the early multi-part serials.
Yeah, you just gotta know that.
because they were too long.
Yeah. Just gotta be clued in.
Which you would be if you look at the episode index.
Sounding so condescending to this like valid and very like true criticism. But I don't know. I think an easy or like best of both worlds solution to this is like I mentioned before, just in the description, first and foremost, just have the actual episode name. I think that would really help on most podcast apps.
Yeah, we'd have to get rid of our humorous bylines to do that.
Yeah. Well, we could just put the bylines after that.
Yeah.
Or
We
not.
do put the episode titles in the description. It's just buried in there.
Yeah.
I don't know. We never really
Well-
expected to get to 245 episodes, so there was never really a consideration.
Yeah, if you listen to those early episodes, we always joke about, like, if we're still doing this in a month.
In a month, we say 5 years ago.
But yeah, thanks.
Thanks for
again
emailing
for
us.
emailing.
Thanks for emailing us, Sergeant Drano and
And Colin.
And we do also have an email signed JB Anderton. But like I said, we're going to hold that, or I'm specifically holding that one over to Time of the Doctor because there's a big line that says in here, spoilers, do not read the following until you've both watched the Time of the Doctor. So
I haven't watched it.
we're holding it over for 2 weeks. But on that note, that glorious note where we got fan mail for Trust Your Doctor, if you would like to email us as we come to the end of the 11th Doctor's era and you want to get some thoughts in, you can reach us at thedoctor@decorativevegetable.com. Questions, comments, concerns, angry rants, love letters, your thoughts on Clara being impossible. Nailed it. You can find us on YouTube at Decorative Vegetable. You can find us on Apple Podcasts and Google Play at Trust Your Doctor. Be sure to leave a rating if you like the show.
Check us out on Facebook, Trust Your Doctor. Like us on Facebook. Also check us out on Twitter at TYD Podcast and follow us on Twitter. Next time we're watching
The Day of the Doctor.
Yeah, that. But until then, the end.